Spit bars, I stand behind mine. Yeah. Sentences I serve, maximize guidelines. My lawyer can't give me his advice when these beasts that I murder carry mandatory minimums of life. Yikes. In case you didn't get the point, we spit bars.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of The Maximum Sentence, where there's conviction behind the bars. I'm your man, AJ Throwback. Great to be here with you on another Wednesday, where we are breaking down in our second week of breaking down my latest single, Loner's Remorse, produced by Gladiator, co-produced by yours truly. Last week we broke down the first half of the first verse. This week we're breaking down the second half of the first verse from my latest single, which if you don't have, please make sure that you go to my website, BAMMLLC.net. Once again, that's BAMMLLC.net. I'll be giving that information again at the end of the broadcast, and as well, it will be in the description here on this video. But before we go any further, y'all know what I ask every single week. If this is your first time watching my content, or you've watched my content before and you still haven't done this very thing, what I need y'all to do is please like, comment, share, and of course subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the bell notification so that when I go live, premiere a new video, or post a new video, you'll be among the first to know, and you can tap in and be a part of the experience. Now, got that part out of the way. Of course, we always gotta show love to those who show love to this platform. So let's get to some of these comments right now. So Satui 2807 on YouTube says, Loner's Remorse hits different at 4 o'clock, man. I'm loving it. I meant 4 as in 4 a.m. though, with the laughing face emojis, because at first I thought he meant at the 4-minute mark. I was like, wait, the song's almost over at that point. But it's in reference to the comment that I said in terms of how certain tones hit at a certain time of day. Definitely appreciate you for that comment right there. And my friend Jukeboxx, she says, she had 2 great comments. She says, I love this song so much. Thank you so much for the breakdown. It is amazing. I love that you take the time to talk about your music making process. Everything is so dope. And then she also says, thank you for being so vulnerable with us on this. It's beautiful, my friend. If you don't learn anything about me through this whole process, is that I'm very vulnerable with my music. So I definitely appreciate you recognizing that. And then another comment from my brother, Marchello Bradley of What's Up With You. He says, bro, I know your pain in losing songs. I lost my first album twice. Talk about frustrated. I'm glad you were able to recreate it in an even better way. Love it when a plan ruined comes out better, LOL. At the 15-20 mark. Everybody ain't for everybody. No truer words have been spoken. That's something I've come to accept over the past couple years. One of life's most important lessons. Being an introvert myself, I love hearing other introverts discuss their experiences. You hit the nail on the head in so many ways with this one. I went through similar trials as a kid. In first grade, they thought I was slow because I wouldn't talk to anyone, LOL. It was a relief to find out later in life that I just need time to recharge and recalibrate my being. Another great breakdown, my guy. Keep up the tremendously great music and work. And that's exactly why I made this song, to really resonate with fellow. That's one of the biggest reasons why I made this song, to resonate with fellow introverts out there who may have gone through similar things as kids. So I'm glad that you shared your experience with me, my brother. I appreciate you all. It means so much that you all take time out of your day, even if it's just a few minutes, even if it's just a few simple words. I just appreciate y'all connecting with what I'm doing. That means so much, because otherwise I would just be talking to myself, and that's cool. But you know, this isn't just for me. This is really about connecting people with the content and being able to relate to these stories that I tell through music. Now, let us get to the main event, which is the second half of the first verse of Loner's Remorse.
Acting out, couldn't comprehend my parents splitting up. Gave my mama a hard time for giving up. Had to ridicule her when her brother cried. Cool kids forced my hand like having 12 and praying a jack ain't on the other side. Honor roll, but in swagger 101, hella dumb. Kindness kills, whatever, bruh, I had a pellet gun. Another torn Achilles of naïveté. Got so used to riding, pounding time, felt no need to play.
All right, so let's get real with some of these bars. Actually, all of these bars we can get real with. So, where I say acting up, couldn't comprehend my parents splitting up, gave my mom a hard time for giving up. Let me tell you, those are some hard bars right there when you really think about it, especially that last bar. We're going to get to that momentarily. Let's start with that first bar. Acting up, couldn't comprehend my parents splitting up. My parents, they got separated when I was not long after I turned 8 years old. I turned 8 in September of 1987. November of 1987, my parents ended up separating. We moved from Oxon Hill, Maryland to Southeast DC to live with my aunt and my uncle and my cousin. And so I just couldn't understand the concept. Like a lot of kids, when their parents split up, when their parents get divorced, which my parents eventually did 3 years later, it was a hard concept for me to grasp. I dealt with a lot of frustration. I dealt with a lot of anger, with just not understanding, because I wanted my parents. I wanted them to be together. I got used to us all living under one roof, no matter what that roof was, whether we were living in one part of Oxon Hill, whether we were living with my grandmother in Northwest DC, whether we were living in Oxon Hill. And Oxon Hill, specifically that time, was it was one of those formative times that I really don't even know why it was the way that it was and why I connected with that place when we lived in Oxon Hill Village. Just the whole thing of them separating. A lot of kids I know don't necessarily handle when their parents split up very well. And I was acting out in a lot of ways. I was doing certain things for attention. Frankly, if I'm being honest, I was taking money out of my mom's purse. Like I said in the last episode, I struggled with making friends. This is the part of my life where making friends was even harder, because I was dealing with a lot of things and I didn't know how to express these things at 8 years old. I'm trying to navigate all of these emotions of my parents not being together, and also trying to balance out the whole thing of being a kid and being in new environments and going to different grades and trying to figure out, okay, how can I fit in? Where's my place in this world? And not having both of your parents under the same roof to guide you in that direction, and not understanding that there are certain things at play that your parents can't really explain to you at the time because they feel like you're too young to understand it. And so the whole thing of, when I say gave my mom a hard time for giving up, it was me saying that I was coming from this very unfair vantage point of, I just wanted my dad under the same roof as us. You know, it wasn't a thing where my mom asked to take the both of us. If my mom had her druthers, she would have had us all be under the same roof. But my dad dealt with a lot of personal issues, and my mom didn't want to subject us to that because their relationship ended up becoming very volatile after a while. And so my mom thinking like, okay, I have to protect my children. I have to protect myself from anything that their father, my husband, would expose them to with his decisions. So I have to do what's best for them. I have to think about them. I have to sacrifice for them to make sure that they have better lives than either one of us had growing up. And not to say they had terrible lives, but every time that a new generation comes along, you want that generation to have it better than you had it. If you're thinking about them and not just thinking about yourself and how things benefit you. I never forget, there was something, I don't even know what happened. And I don't even know what really sparked this remark. I think my mother said something to me and I felt like she was just being a little bit too hard on me being hypersensitive. And I've struggled with that throughout my life. I feel like I've gotten better in certain ways, and then, you know, I've struggled in others. But I was really sensitive as a kid because of everything that was happening at that time, around 8, 9, 10 years old. And so I don't know what my mother said to me, but all I remember saying to her was, I wish I lived with Daddy. And I never forget how hurt my mother was. I felt like she was trying to tell me is that you don't know what you're asking for. You don't know what you're saying right now because you're 8, 9 years old and you're sensitive. And I know that you want your dad here, but he can't be here for various reasons. And come to find out years later, my dad couldn't hold down a place of his own after they split up. My mom had to be the responsible one. She had to be the one to really take care of things. And it's not to disparage my dad, God bless the dead. It's not to disparage him, but it's just to lay out the facts. My mom was the main one who took care of us. It's not to say that my dad didn't lend things to us, but my mom was the one who had to be the one to take care of us. But in that sense of dealing with all of that, I was angry. I was frustrated. I was hurt by a lot of things. I was brokenhearted. So that was a factor, bringing it to the whole loner's remorse thing. That was a factor that kind of pushed me within myself. So then you get to the lines where I say, add the ridicule when a brother cried. Cruel kids force my hand like having 12 and praying that Jack ain't on the other side. So the whole thing about cruel kids is that's when I realized that kids weren't so kind. First grade, like kindergarten, first grade, second grade, kids were cool. I didn't really have too many issues with other kids, but it was once I got to third grade that it kind of started. But that fourth grade, as I talked about in the last episode, fourth grade, man, rough. Fourth grade was rough. Fifth grade was a little bit better, and sixth grade was probably one of the better grades of me being in school. But fourth grade was awful. That was when I was really, really feeling it in terms of the absence of my father being around, because I felt like he didn't prepare me enough to deal with, one, being able to verbally defend myself. I mean, he would tell me defend myself, but being around to show a child in Southeast DC and having to deal with a different type of child than, say, children who might be in Oxon Hill. And it's not to knock anybody that's in Oxon Hill. It's just to say Southeast DC is one of those parts of DC that has a particular stigma about it in terms of a roughness, or the fact that it's so violent, or the fact that there are so many black people. Because I mean, it's probably one of the, other than say like Northeast, the part that's east of the Anacostia River, is one of the areas that's the most heavily populated with black people. And you have all of these black people in a part of the city that's constantly being talked about in a negative light. You have a bunch of people receiving these things about themselves, and they're passing this energy onto their children, and their children are then taking it out on other children who look like them. And they don't care whether or not a kid is kind. They don't care whether or not a kid is smart. They don't care anything about anything that makes sense. Because when you're 8, 9, 10 years old, rationale doesn't always come into play. You're just thinking about the fact of, what you have to do in order to survive. What you have to do in order to keep your sanity as a child. You have to overthink and overcompensate as a child. And a lot of times, because you're projecting how you feel, and you're projecting some of the things you go through in your home, then you start putting those things on other kids. And that's what ended up happening to me. I wasn't the kid that was looking for trouble. I wanted to be the kid that was everybody's friend. But the problem is, I had to really learn a very quick crash course in the fact that not everybody is your friend. That was a very hard lesson for me to learn as a kid. And that there are going to be people who don't like you, and they don't necessarily have a good reason not to like you. They just see you as an easy target. And because I was the kind kid, I was the smart kid, they saw me as an easy target to pick on, because we didn't dress, or at least I didn't dress all that great, or my mom couldn't afford to put me in Reebok pumps or Jordans or whatever popular shoe was out at the time, or she couldn't afford to put me in like damn name brand clothing. We became, specifically me, because I was more sensitive than my brother was, I became a very easy target for kids. And so then that brings me to the lines where I say, cruel kids force my hand like having 12 and praying that Jack ain't on the other side. Like, that's a play on blackjack, because anybody that knows blackjack, if you have a 12, like say if you have a 12, say if you have a 9 and a 3, and you trying to get blackjack, you hoping for another 9, because if you get a jack, that's 10. You go over. That forces your hand, that pushes your hand, and you lose the game. Your hand is being forced. You have to either decide you're going to stand up for yourself, whether it's physical fighting, whether it's, verbally attacking somebody, you Joan back. I wasn't strong in Joning. I was never the quick on my feet. You get at me, I'm gonna get at you. Like, I just didn't understand why kids felt the need to have to talk about each other. And specifically me, I'm like, dang, why you gotta talk about me? Like, I'm trying to be kind to you. I'm trying to be nice to you. I can't help the fact that I got the clothes on that I got. I can't help the fact that my shape up isn't perfect all the time and yours is. My mom can't afford to take me to the barbershop as often as your mom or your dad can. Why are you ridiculing me for that? Like, I didn't understand it as a kid. So bringing it back, that was something that pushed me even further into my shell. Because it's like, okay, if I'm going through these things in my home and my parents are going through this tumultuous situation with their relationship and things are falling apart with their marriage, that makes me not want to connect with people. Then it's this whole thing with these other kids that seem not to like me for whatever reason. They don't like me. That pushes me further into my shell. And then kind of time, I've been mentioning the whole thing with clothes, honor roll, butt and swagger 101, hella dumb. I ain't know nothing about swagger. I didn't know nothing about dressing cool. I didn't care about those things. And what's funny is that I'm a Libra, and a lot of times Libras are associated with being able to dress. That was something else I was a late bloomer with. And I'm not even saying I'm the fashion king or nothing like that. I will never say that. But I do know what looks good together. But anyway, as a kid, I didn't understand that concept, because my whole thing is, okay, well, who really cares about that? I'm a kind person. I'm a smart person. I'm talented. I can draw. I can do all of these awesome things that kids sometimes don't always care about. They don't care about that stuff. And then it gets to the line, kindness kills. Whatever, bro, I had a pellet gun. Like, no matter how kind I was to somebody, it didn't matter. It wasn't that thing of kindness kills. Not these kids. I mean, these Bammers rolling around like, pick somebody who's bulletproof. I don't have enough kindness, ammunition, in order to shoot at other people that is going to actually wear them down. And they're going to just be like, you know what? You being kind to me. So let me not be cruel to you, or let me not tease you, or let me not make fun of your sneakers, or let me not make fun of your pants, or let me not make fun of your haircut, or whatever it might be. Like, they're not thinking like that because they're kids. Their brains are still developing. My brain was still developing at that time, because if my brain was fully developed, I would have understood back then that everybody ain't gonna like you. Everybody isn't meant to be your friend, and that's okay. And then leading to the last couple of lines, another torn Achilles of naïveté. Got so used to riding pine and time, felt no need to play. So bringing all of this full circle, bringing all of it home with this particular set of bars. After a while, I just felt like, you know what? I don't really feel the need to have to try to get people to like me. Now, granted, this was something that I struggled with, not just in elementary school, but through junior high as well. But then after a while in junior high, I was like, you know what? I'm done trying to be everybody's friend. I'm done trying to impress people. I'm done trying to break down these walls and break the ice and all of this other stuff. I'm done, because people have shown me that no matter how kind you are, no matter how talented you are, no matter how smart you are, no matter how good looking you think you are, no matter how high you think of yourself, there's always a bunch of people coming to knock you down quite a few pegs. And it has nothing to do with you. A lot of times it has to do more with their own insecurities. But I didn't understand that as a child or as a teenager. I just took it sensitively. But unfortunately, it became one of those things that pushed me deeper into my introversion. And it, once again, as I said in the first episode, it begs the question, are you born an introvert or an extrovert, or does life shape you and push you in that direction? And sometimes I feel like as much as I wanted to be an extrovert, as much as I wanted to be like my dad, I also feel like a lot of the things that I went through as a child, between the age specifically of 8 and I would say 13 years old, between that time, that 5-year stretch, I think that time really shaped the direction of me becoming an introvert. Now, granted, I was drawing already. I was doing all of that stuff. And there were a lot of times where I preferred to stay indoors. And we'll get into that in later episodes as well. But I think even when I was drawing and I first was starting to get into drawing, I still loved to go outside. I still, to be honest, preferred to be outside because I love to be outdoors. I love getting in the car with my dad and going wherever. It didn't matter where we went as long as we got in the car and go somewhere. Being out and about, that was something I loved to do at the age of probably up to the age of about 7. And I would say even the very early part of being 8 years old. But with all of those things that happened between being 8 and 13, in those really formative years, I feel like that changed the trajectory of who I ended up becoming. And I'm not saying that it would be a guarantee that I would have been an extrovert, but I feel like I probably would have been closer to being an extrovert had I had better experiences, not feeling like I was alone or like I had to be alone or like I had to kind of protect myself or build up this protective wall around myself to protect myself from people, because I found that peopling as a child was a very exhausting experience, because half the time you felt yourself having to defend yourself, defend who you are, defend your right to be you without feeling like you had to fit in or you feeling like you had to click up. Because the bottom line is, I couldn't really click up. I didn't fit in none of the cliques. So that's why a lot of times I felt by myself. And after a while, I got comfortable being by myself. And we're going to leave that there because there's a lot more to dig into when it comes to that, when it comes to later parts of my life. And that's the beauty of this song, is that it really paints a picture. Going back to T. Witz's comment from last week, really telling the story. It is a story of, the reason why this song is so personal is because it's a story legitimately of my life. Like, I chronicle from the time that I am about 8 years old to basically now. Because look, I'm still an introvert. I still prefer my me time. I still prefer to recharge away from people. But a lot of me feels like maybe I wouldn't be that way if I didn't go through some of the things that I went through. I don't know. If anybody is an introvert out there and y'all have gone through similar experiences, whether it was a thing where, you know, you were teased, or whether you may have gone through some traumatic experiences more serious than anything I went through, drop me a comment. Let me know. You know, you can drop the comment right here on this video, or you can shoot me an email, info@bammllc.net. Once again, that's info, info @bammllc.net. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your experiences, you know, fellow introverts out there. And, you know, your comment could be featured next week. So definitely would love to hear from you. Now, if you don't have a single, please make sure that you go to my website, Loner's Remorse, produced by Gladiator, co-produced by me, at my website, bammllc.net. Once again, that's bammllc.net. From there, you can connect, you can buy the single right then and there, or if you're a streaming person, you can go to your favorite streaming site from there, except Spotify, because I'm not on Spotify. My music, I pulled all of my music from Spotify, so all my Spotify people, I'm sorry. That's more incentive for you to buy the single. But everybody else, you can definitely connect to your favorite site, and you can also connect to my Bandcamp page from there. My Bandcamp page, ajthrowback.bandcamp.com. Once again, ajthrowback.bandcamp.com. You can buy the single from there as well. It does not matter to me whether you stream or whether you buy. I prefer you buy, but all support matters at the end of the day. I'm not going to tell people, oh, you know, don't stream my music. Nah, stream it. Stream it. Just make sure that if you do stream it, please do this. Please listen to the song in full and add it to a playlist. So definitely appreciate all the support, all the love, everybody who's bought the single so far, everybody who's streaming the single so far. Continue to do that. Please make sure that if you enjoy the Maximum Sentence and all of the content that I provide on my YouTube channel, please make sure that you like, comment, share, and of course subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit that bell notification so that when I go live, when I premiere a new video, when I post a new video, you'll be among the first ones to know. And if you're not already following me on social media, you can hit me up, Facebook, Twitter, at AJ Throwback. Follow me, I follow back. Same thing on Instagram and TikTok. It is at a.j.throwback. Follow me on any one of these platforms. And if you're not on some nonsense, I guarantee I'll follow you back and interact with you, and we can connect and do all of that great stuff that people should be doing on social media. So until the next time, and next time we will be breaking down the first half of the second verse of Loner's Remorse. So definitely make sure that y'all tap in for that conversation. And I appreciate y'all watching this episode of The Maximum Sentence, where there's conviction behind the bars. I'm your man, AJ Throwback. And until next time, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all week. Enjoy your weekend. And I will see y'all next week for another episode. Peace.
I done told myself some most comfortable result was homeless as a loner.